we had monster news in the NBA last week. James Harden traded in a 14 deal to the Brooklyn Nets. A lot going a lot of different ways. Jared Allen out, Karis LeVert out. By the way, that trade might have saved Karis LeVert's life. So we're praying for him and hoping he's doing all right and hoping that the treatment, whatever treatment he has on that kidney mass goes very well and he's okay to continue with his life and potentially even basketball going forward. But we just have to see with that. So, I mean, Joe, there's a lot of questions here with this trade. Obviously, Harden and Durant together, without Kyrie being there yet, have looked pretty good. They've won both their games. Harden's had back-to-back 30-point double-doubles, and I think he had a triple-double in his debut. So is it too early after this trade to declare the Brooklyn Nets an early title favorite, or do we need more time to figure out how all of these pieces fit together? Because obviously we only saw the Harden-Durant combo. We haven't seen how Kyrie fits in.
I don't think it's too early. I think with Kyrie, we're seeing a new version of the Thunder Big Three back when Durant, Harden, and Westbrook were together.
Yeah,
and they were
older version, a more mature version too.
I think with Kyrie, this team will be a force to reckon with on offense. Defensively, I don't even see that many problems on defense except for in the backcourt. I mean,
the backcourt's going to get exposed by a lot of really good guards.
Yeah, obviously, but I mean, like, I honestly don't. I think this was a good trade. I think the only problem I find with it is the season it's in.
Yeah,
like
because of COVID, and you need depth.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big concern, though.
It's a big concern. Even if just Kyrie or Hart, if one of the two gets COVID, though, we've seen Durant can, work with one or the other. So the question is, you're right. Can they all three gel together?
And that brings us to the question, Joe. Do you think Kyrie fits in there positively with the other two, or do you think it causes a negative situation because there's too many ball dominant players on the floor?
I think they're gonna find a way to make it work. I don't think it's gonna work at first. I think they're gonna we're gonna be seeing some weird minutes where it's just Durant and one of the two on the floor, because we know that works right now. But later in the season, I'm gonna just say a month from now, I think we're gonna see all three of them on the floor at the same time for the majority of the game, and just working together, winning the games.
Yeah, and the big so I go back and forth on this because obviously you have a team out west, defending champs in the Lakers, who fit together really well and secretly are a low-key super team. I mean, you have two of the best 5 players in the league. LeBron's the best player in the league. I've said this 100 times. I think Durant is playing like the second best player, as crazy as that sounds. Maybe Giannis is better, but like Durant's in that upper echelon. But for me, LeBron James is clearly the best player in the league. He literally is, his foot isn't even fully on the gas and he's still playing ridiculous basketball. Obviously last night wasn't the best. You got AD, who's phenomenal as well. And then, I mean, you factor in Schroeder, Harrell, just the amount of options they have. But if those three are clicking, Harden, Durant, Kyrie, I think the Lakers are even a little overmatched. So my take on this is, as of now, I'm not ready to jump to full conclusions yet, because of Kyrie Irving. We know Kyrie Irving is a phenomenal basketball player. He's an incredible talent, but there have been major questions about his behavior in the locker room and just general leadership ability since he really forced his way out of Cleveland in 2017. In Boston, it was huge issues, especially his second season. And then in Brooklyn last season, there were even questions about it. He has the coach he wants. He has great players beside him. And he doesn't, and so I guess the big thing for me is I just need to see whether the egos are all able to be balanced. Durant and Harden have a familiarity. They played together for years when they were younger. Harden isn't a selfish player, at least on the court. I think the way he forced his way out of Houston was incredibly selfish, but he and Durant know how to play together. The question is, can you just balance those three personalities? I think Durant won't be that problematic. I think Harden might be a little. The question is Kyrie okay playing third fiddle when he wasn't okay playing second fiddle to LeBron? And that's why I just need to see them together. I agree with you. There's definitely going to be growing pains, especially with Kyrie commanding the shots. He commanding a bunch of shots when in reality, Harden and Durant maybe should be taking some of those. Kyrie's a phenomenal player. Don't get me wrong, but the other two are better. So it's just I'm not ready to jump there yet. I think the Lakers are going to be a more cohesive unit, but Joe, if they all click, you're right. In the playoffs, I don't see anyone being able to stop them.
Yeah. Also, I mean, I think we've already seen Kyrie being able to like change this season. I mean, we said Brooklyn wasn't going to go anywhere if Kyrie couldn't accept the number 2 role, and he did. Then, so I mean, hopefully, like he will still, like I think it's depending on the game who's number 2. I mean, because like Kyrie can get around any defender to the hoop. I mean, with his, amazing ball handling skills, and James Harden is just, just a great shooter from beyond the arc. So I think it depends on the game. So I think that's going to be easier for them to like be number 2. But you're right. I think one of them has to accept the number 3 role, and no one really wants to do that on a super team.
And to be fair, Kyrie's also averaging 6 assists a game in his first 7 games. So it's not like he's been complete like a ball hog. Like he's not a ball hog player. He's a good passer. The question just is though, like when you get late in the clutch, who's taking that shot? And if the wrong guy takes it in one of their eyes, who do they get to? Is there infighting? Like there's a lot kind of to be worried about here. I think for me, the undisputed go-to guy would be Durant, but then you have Harden, and then Kyrie obviously hit one of the biggest shots of recent finals history back in 2016, and he has a knack for clutch shots as well. So I think it's just a question of them working out late game situations, them working out kind of out the alpha, I should say. But yeah, I think that this is going to be an interesting dynamic. And the big question I have is next. You talked about the depth, right? There is a clear lack of depth. They played 9 guys last night against the Bucks, including Reggie Perry out of Mississippi State, who's either a rookie or second-year player who didn't get significant minutes in the past. So, or at least to the best of my knowledge. So, Joe, I just want to know, right? In the playoffs, that's not as much of an issue. But in the regular season with COVID, when you don't want to run your players into the ground, what's your thoughts on that?
So far, we've seen without Kyrie, and since James Harden's been there, they're 2-0?
Yep.
Just about, yeah. So their depth seems to be fine currently. I mean, the biggest win against the Bucks, I mean, that was huge. So depth-wise, I think it goes down to what happens when Kyrie and Harden, like if they got COVID, what's going to happen after that?
True.
And I think they're probably not going to be able to, hold on to leads or even get leads without the 2 of them, without one or the other. But right now, it seems like their depth isn't showing to be a problem, or lack thereof of depth. But maybe in the long run, we're going to see it if COVID happens on that team. But then again, it's if COVID happens, we don't know if nothing happens, and I think they're just going to be fine.
Hey y'all, thank you everyone for watching. If you want to see our last video, click here. If you want to see our next video, click here. And if you want to subscribe, click on my face.